The Walt Disney Company's decision to cancel the UK premiere of Snow White 2025 and scale back its US premiere was the first major red flag, a clear sign that things were going terribly wrong for Bob Iger, the Disney board, and the film's creative team. One thing is certain, Rachel Zegler remains in full damage control mode for the movie. She's saying whatever she can to prop it up, while Disney CEO Bob Iger scrambles to defend the film. The company is desperately trying to keep things intact and push through the controversy, hoping to put Snow White in the past as quickly as possible so they can refocus on their upcoming projects. However, the bigger story here isn't just about Snow White. It's about Rachel Zegler's career and the shifting landscape of Hollywood's relationship with controversial actors. As industry insiders speculate on whether Zegler's reputation has been permanently damaged, it's clear that Snow White is shaping up to be one of Disney's biggest PR disasters in years. As more Hollywood studios take note of Disney's handling of the Rachel Zegler controversy, the fallout is becoming increasingly severe for the actress. What started as backlash over Snow White has now snowballed into career-threatening consequences, making it harder for Zegler to land new roles, whether in live-action films or voiceover work, with Disney in full-blown panic mode over the disastrous reception of Snow White 2025. The damage has extended beyond the film itself. Multiple studios that were undecided about working with Zegler have now made their choice, cutting ties completely. One of the biggest blows came from Blumhouse Productions, where Zegler was in talks for a leading role in an upcoming horror film. However, after witnessing the controversy surrounding her political comments and Disney's handling of her public image, the studio officially blacklisted her from all future projects. Things worsened even further when Warner Bros. And CEO David Zaslav also decided to sever ties with Zegler. After months of deliberation, the studio concluded that hiring actors who are heavily involved in political discourse was too risky. As a result, Zegler was removed from all potential WB projects, despite her past association with the studio. Zegler's growing reputation as a controversial figure is proving to be a major obstacle for her career. As more studios take a step back, it's becoming clear that Snow White may not just be a box office disaster, it could also mark a turning point in Zegler's Hollywood trajectory. The fallout from Rachel Zegler's controversies continues to escalate, with more Hollywood studios pulling away from the actress. This isn't an isolated case. Warner Bros. CEO David Zaslav has previously distanced the studio from politically outspoken actors like George Clooney and Robert De Niro due to the backlash their political stances generated. Now, Zegler finds herself in a similar predicament. Reports suggest that Zegler is frustrated and disheartened by the growing number of studios refusing to work with her. The turning point for many companies came when Disney itself removed her from multiple projects, including Toy Story 5 and Pirates of the Caribbean. Once Disney made that call, other studios like Warner Bros. And Blumhouse saw working with Zegler as an unnecessary risk. The situation has only worsened for Zegler, as even independent powerhouse A24 is now reconsidering any future collaboration with her. Following the box office failure of her recent film Y2K, the studio is reportedly weighing whether working with Zegler is worth the controversy. Adding to her struggles, nearly every major film Zegler has starred in has underperformed at the box office. While it's debatable whether she was the direct cause, the pattern is hard to ignore. With her reputation taking repeated hits, Zegler's future in Hollywood remains uncertain. The controversy surrounding Rachel Zegler has now reached a critical point, as major studios like Warner Bros. And Blumhouse have officially blacklisted her from their future projects. Once seen as a rising star, Zegler's box office track record and off-screen controversies have made her a risky investment for Hollywood executives. With the film and television industry facing a turbulent period, studios are making strategic decisions to protect their brands. Warner Bros. And Blumhouse's move to sever ties with Zegler signals a shift in how Hollywood approaches actors with polarizing public images. While not all studios are following this trend, it's clear that some are desperate to maintain financial stability and avoid unnecessary risks. Reports indicate that Zegler is deeply upset by these developments, especially since similar tensions led to her fallout with Disney. Initially, Disney had plans to expand the Snow White story into a multi-film franchise, similar to what they've done with The Lion King. However, following ongoing backlash and the poor reception to Zegler's comments about the original film, those plans appear to have been scrapped, with Hollywood shifting away from Zegler. Her future in the industry remains uncertain. Will she find a way to recover, or is this the beginning of a long-term decline? Disney initially planned to expand the Snow White story into a multi-film franchise, much like The Lion King. However, due to overwhelming backlash and the irreparable damage to Disney's reputation, those plans were quietly scrapped. Now, with the release of Snow White looming, Zegler's career prospects continue to dwindle. As acting opportunities disappear, Zegler is reportedly considering a shift into music or singing to keep her career afloat. With roles slipping away, one after another, her situation resembles a domino effect, where one setback leads to another. With Blumhouse and Warner Bros. Officially blacklisting her, industry insiders predict that more studios may soon follow. Previously, some companies had held off on making a final decision until Snow White's release, but with the current trajectory, many seem ready to cut ties altogether. Facing a rapidly shrinking pool of opportunities, Zegler is now exploring potential legal options to challenge the fallout. Whether she pursues legal action or reinvents herself in another industry, her Hollywood future remains highly uncertain. We've seen it before with major studios like Warner Bros. And Blumhouse Productions. When a film faces too many setbacks, too much controversy, and too many reshoots, it rarely ends well. And Snow White 2025 is shaping up to be no exception. Despite everything, Rachel Zegler is doing everything in her power to hype up this movie, to convince audiences that it's going to be some kind of cinematic masterpiece. But let's be real, the writing is already on the wall. From problematic test screenings to on-set drama between Zegler and Gal Gadot, to multiple rounds of reshoots, every sign points to this film being a sloppy, disjointed mess. And speaking of reshoots, 3 rounds? That's never a good sign. It suggests that Disney doesn't know what direction they want this movie to take, which means audiences are likely in for an incoherent, uneven story. Expect major continuity errors, especially between Acts 1, 2, and 3, where it's clear the film was patched together at the last minute. But here's where things get really interesting. Disney is already scaling back its marketing campaign. Days before its release, we're seeing a major pullback in promotion for Snow White 2025. That's a huge red flag. It's almost as if Bob Iger and Disney's board of directors have lost faith in this film entirely. They don't believe in its potential, and they know it won't come anywhere close to the success of their past blockbusters. At this point, Snow White has become a test case for Hollywood's obsession with reboots and remakes. It raises big questions about the industry. Is forcing political messaging into classic stories alienating audiences? Have studios like Disney forgotten what made their films beloved in the first place? With Snow White 2025 just around the corner, it's only a matter of time before we see whether this film is a bold reimagining or just another failed cash grab. But from what we've seen so far, the odds aren't looking good. So, what do you think? Is Rachel Zegler's involvement helping or hurting this movie? Is Disney making a huge mistake by modernizing their classics this way? Or do you think audiences should wait and see before passing judgment? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.